Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Sales Piracy and Good Trouble with Ben Hulme. We talk about how being a disruptor is now cool but wasn't at school, why supporting others to build their dreams is one of his measures of success, and hear all about his very romantic story.
Ben has spent 22 years in leadership, sales, business development and relationship management across healthcare, technology, HR, consultancy and services. Seeing how slow and complicated the health and care system can be, and the missed opportunity because big corporate companies are too big and too corporate, he founded Hulme Redwood to give innovators and startups access to the experience and skills to grow and work in a way that is healthy and rewarding for all. They called him disruptive at school, but he hears that's now bang on trend, and he calls it sales piracy. Ben lives in Preston, Lancashire with his lovely wife Claire and their 14 angels. Out of hours, he is at his happiest up a mountain or in a lake somewhere. So Ben, thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on to the Inspiration North podcast.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's my privilege. I'm really excited to be here. I've never done a podcast before, so if I get it wrong, then you just have to tell me, and then we can delete it all, re-record it all, and put it out there again. Because that's how it works, yeah.
No, that was why you will laugh. We've had loads of people whose first podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They came on us, and then they went off to set their own podcasts, or went off to go on loads of other people's podcasts. So we like to sort of ease people into the world of podcasting. So you're safe with us, Ben, is what I'm trying to say really badly.
Well, thank you. I feel like I'm in good hands, and I know we've got some views in common about changing the universe and being pirates and stuff. So I just trust you anyway. Do your worst. Go for it. Come on.
So, taking you back to your childhood, because clearly I'm a psychologist and that stuff interests me. Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
When I grew up, yes, but it was not that long ago. So when I was growing up, I'll tell you what I wanted to be when I was growing up. I wanted to be everything. I wanted to be a film star. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be an athlete. When I was young, I didn't know any boundaries. I had no sense of what was and wasn't achievable and possible. And I just saw things and went, wow, that looks fun. I want to do that. The downside of that is I had absolutely no focus. I had no actual semblance of a plan as to how to get there or understanding of what any of these things actually meant. And that stayed with me for quite a long time. And then probably when I got to about 40, I sort of grew up and realised what I wanted to be when I grew up. I figured it must have happened by now. And I'm not a pilot. I'm not an athlete of any note. I'm certainly not a film star. And I've learned some boundaries, but not many.
No, that's interesting. So I'm almost scared to ask this question. What were you like at school, Ben?
I was an angel.
Really?
No. Right. So I didn't enjoy school at all. And I look back now with the benefit of hindsight and wisdom and all that I've learned, and I can really understand it. But at the time, I didn't understand the rules. I was described as being very disruptive because I was very disruptive. Though, to be fair, that's kind of in fashion now. And being a disruptor is quite .com and cool and tech and everybody wants to be a disruptor. So maybe I was just ahead of the curve. I absolutely always knew that I was, without a shadow of a doubt, the smartest kid in the room. But that gave me some blind spots because I didn't realise that I was also a bit stupid because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I recall this constant sense that there was a set of rules that everybody else had explained to them and knew and understood. And I was like, nobody's telling me what the rules are here. So I found myself socially quite awkward, but also very gregarious. And because I was going to be a film star, pilot, and athlete, and I knew no boundaries, I was just out there being me at 100%, full volume to the max all the time, which is great. Yeah, big time. Kind of a bit marmitey, because that meant that people tended to either think I was just the most amazing, awesome, incredible, cool, fun human being in the universe, or they did not like me one little bit. And I probably wasn't self-aware enough to even notice that, never mind care at the time. But I didn't get on with teachers. I didn't get on with the rules. I didn't understand the rules, and I couldn't get my head around why, when I questioned them because I didn't understand them, I was just in trouble. It's like, this is a reasonable question. Why do we have to do this? So I often rubbed up against the system the wrong way. Didn't enjoy school one little bit. Was glad to leave. Did get some GCSEs, which I was, actually not bothered about, but got them anyway. And had no idea what I wanted to do next. Hadn't even thought to think about it really. So me and education. Yeah. Oh well.
Were there any subjects? I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but were there any things that, subject-wise or school-wise, that appealed? I enjoy being physically active, so I quite enjoyed games and PE and rugby and running around and hitting things with a stick and all that kind of stuff. Always liked that. I was very good at maths, so numbers I understood really quickly. To the extent that I do recall at least one occasion at high school when our teacher, Mr. Stennett, God bless him, I gave him a hard time, was trying and failing to explain a concept to the class, and people were just looking at him blankly for about 15 minutes. And I just went, here. And I stood up at the age of 14 or whatever, took the chalk off him, because it was blackboards in those days, and explained it to the class in really simple terms. And they all sort of nodded and went, oh, right. And it didn't occur to me that was probably really undermining and embarrassing for him. I was just frustrated because it was bloody obvious. And why can't you guys understand it? And more to the point, why can't you explain it? So I just did what I do, which is I just made it really simple and everybody kind of understood it.
Yeah, where were you in my physics lessons?
Yeah, kind of that. I enjoyed bits of other subjects, but it was often more to do with the topic or the teacher. I enjoyed creative writing and creating like stories and poems, but I hated my English teachers, and they certainly hated me. So not a lot came of it. And I found myself good at French in the last year. I managed to get an A, having spent the previous 4 years just teasing French teachers. And then last year, we all got badly told off for being really beastly to some poor exchange teachers that come over from France and left after less than a year because we were just, I say we, I'm going to say it was the whole class. With hindsight, it might have been a very small number of us, and there's probably only one or two ring leaders, and one of them might have been me. So I feel bad about that, Madame Joubert. I apologise. But anyway, so we all got told off. Yeah, désolé, Madame Joubert. I don't know. No, my French isn't that good still. I can order beers when I go on holiday. But yeah, I didn't enjoy much of it. The sciences, maths came really naturally to me. But it was more about the experience of the teachers and the way I felt and trying to interact with the other kids, or trying to impress the other kids, or trying to impress a particular girl. That was kind of where my head was for most of my formative years.
No, makes sense. Okay, so you leave school with some surprisingly good GCSEs, with zero plan. What did you do next?
I followed my feet and went to sixth form college, the one that was kind of round the corner, just cause. And I picked some subjects, I think, completely at random. And after about a year of that, I probably changed subjects a couple of times and just didn't turn up much. I spent probably 12, maybe 18 months at college, basically not really doing much studying or learning, but definitely honing my social skills and my social life and getting out there and drinking lots and partying and having fun and making loads of new friends and meeting girls and all that kind of stuff. But after about 18 months, it occurred to me that I didn't know what I was there for at all. I wasn't getting anything out of it. I certainly wasn't putting much in either. So I stopped and I just left home and got a job somewhere. In fact, I got a job in a pizza restaurant.
Cool.
So we're sort of getting into retail and chatting with customers, selling a product, was that something that felt a bit more exciting than school?
No, definitely not exciting at all. But it was. So I'm trying to track back and understand my own motivation and drivers here, and there were none. I just kind of followed my feet early on. I was probably in a battle against the universe and doing whatever seemed the right thing to do, just based on how I felt that morning. So I'd already had part-time jobs, waiting on, serving, working in restaurants, in kitchens and stuff. It was easy. I was good at it. I had quite a good laugh, and got on well with the job. And so when I decided to stop being at college, I left home, and somebody offered me a job in a Pizza Hut restaurant, and I went to work for them full time and became a supervisor and got promoted up to management and learned lots about how not to manage people, and eventually I learned a little bit about how to help manage people and get work done really well. Moved to London because, again, no other reason than bumped into somebody and said, "Hey, why don't you come and work for me in London?" And my brother had a flat down there, so that was that. And just kind of wandered through life for a few years like that, really. One foot in front of the other, smiling, having a laugh, working hard and being good at what I was doing, but without still any sense of, why I was doing or where I was going. I was just following the day as it unfolded.
I think I often think that's a good quality of you kind of going in different directions but trying different things, and all these experiences add up to the next door that opens and then the next one. And I still remember back to some of my kind of early lessons managing people in Pizza Hut restaurants, where the dynamic there is you've got a standard way of working that nobody really sticks to because it's very detailed and hard to remember and they can't be bothered. You've got typically a couple of really great staff members that are really quite dedicated and take a lot of pride in what they do, and you've got a large roster of part-timers who do or don't care and will or won't turn up from time to time. And then you've got customers that actually their expectations aren't crazy high, but they want a good mood and some polite service. But me being me, I'm like, no, we can do this better. There's only one way of doing this. Everybody should do it the right way. And so I battled with trying to make people work and make the work a certain way for a while. And then eventually learned that's not it. That's not the trick. The trick is to understand what would make that person want to work and what's important to them, and then work with them. And that was my first lesson in management, really. I think was that. But then I had I guess one of those pivotal moments in your life where something happens. I had a motorbike. Yeah, me and my brother, we had motorbikes. We raced around on them. We had lots of fun. And then I dropped mine, which was a bit clumsy and a bit painful, and actually did myself quite a lot of damage, though I didn't realise it at the time. So I just foolishly, carelessly, squeezed my brakes too hard on some gravel and fell off my motorbike, and it skidded across the road. And I could see in slow motion my pride and joy motorbike sliding across the road and being smashed to the side of the curb and losing half of its engine shell. As I slid across the road in the direction, kind of belly surfing, going, "Whoa, didn't expect that." And I got up and dusted myself off and swore and checked that, there wasn't bleeding and no limbs were missing. And then I picked my bike up, and my brother eventually caught up because he's always been a bit slower than me. Caught up and was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I went, "Yeah." I dropped my bike, really upset. Pushed the bike home, feeling pretty grim. Had a hot bath, and then I've got to work a night shift, which goes until about 6 a.m. So it's a Saturday night, and then the next morning I had to be back at 6 a.m. to do a staff meeting, and then a Sunday day shift, which was really busy. So I cracked lots of jokes about dropping your motorbike, not very funny. And then by the end of that Sunday day shift, I just felt exhausted. Obviously, back-to-back 9 day shifts. Anyway, went home, fell asleep on the sofa with a glass of wine, and woke up with I thought it was trapped wind, but it turned out to be a ruptured spleen.
Ouch.
And I think 7 pints of blood had leaked out into my, floating around in my belly. And I was in quite a bad way. So I rang the doctor to say, "I'm feeling a bit poorly." And by the end of the call, all I could do was scream and wail as they sent an ambulance to pick me up and take me to St George's Hospital in Tooting, where they cut me open and went, "Whew, that was close." If you'd have gone to sleep, you'd have woken up dead. So we're glad we caught you. And that was the first time in my life I discovered that there were boundaries or limitations and that I was mortal. Hadn't occurred to me beforehand. Really hadn't occurred to me beforehand. So I'm in the hospital. I've had my stomach cut open. I've got a fantastic scar.
Cool.
But rather a lot of pain. And morphine. Oh, morphine. Yeah, I fell in love with morphine really quickly. Possibly one of the nurses. She won't remember my name. And I guess I was in hospital for probably a week or 10 days. My brother came to visit me, took the mickey. My mum came to visit me, made a fuss. My area manager, my boss, came to visit me and said, "Oh, you get well soon, and we've got a card and we've got some videos, and oh, by the way, you've only got like 4 days holiday sick pay because of your role in the company, so you have to. The rest of this is holiday, I'm afraid, or you won't be paid." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I've just written off my bike. I'm skint. I'm physically a wreck, in excruciating pain. This nurse ain't giving me the time of day. And I've just been told that not only my skin, but my job prospects are actually pretty crappy as well. So that was kind of a bit of a low point. And what surprised me the most that I learned about myself at that time as well, not only am I mortal and, have limitations, but I'm also discovered an optimist. Because I woke up the next day and went, okay, well, it could be worse. Right, let's get on with it. Crack some jokes, take the mickey a little bit, and let's see what we're going to do next. And that was just my attitude. I was like, yeah, oh look, a bit of a hole in my belly. On we go. And I was surprised at my own just positivity and optimism, despite all of that shenanigans. Yeah, so that was that. That was my brush with death. First of many, I'm sure.
So what happened next? What did you do?
So I got up, gradually got a bit better, got well enough to go back to work, probably a few weeks, couple of months later, back to work. But by this time, it was clear that, as hard as I worked for this company and as much of my heart and soul as I put into it, they really didn't actually care about me. And why would they? But yeah, it was that, oh, right, this is definitely a bit of a warmer relationship here. So I thought, I should probably find something else to do. And at that time, a friend of a friend, somebody I was chatting to, happened to work for an IT consultancy firm who were part of a larger group that also had other businesses in IT, whatever that was. I think this was 1997. We had the internet. There was my brother had a laptop, which I always thought was not quite, a computer is not quite as good as a screwer. But it turns out they're really quite cool. You can get jobs with them. So, and this guy was always, he said, "You know what, Ben, you've got a great attitude. You'll be great at this sales job, this IT recruitment sales stuff that our company does." And I went, "How did you mean?" He went, yeah, we've got this sister company who do this IT recruitment sales. You'd be brilliant at it. You would just fit right in. Which at the time I took as a compliment. And some of your listeners might interpret that a different way, but I'm sure it depends on I said, "Well, yeah, hey, why not?" He said, "Look, let me give you the detail. This guy, a salesman, is called Dave Pinto. Give him a call, have a chat with him, tell him I sent you, and see what happens." I actually forgetting his name. I'm going to call him Mike for the purpose of the story, but his name wasn't Mike. It'll come back to me later. I'm going to call the guy Mike. So Mike said, "Ring Dave Pinto." So the next day, I rang Dave Pinto and said, "Hi, yeah, Mike said I should give you a call. I understand that from time to time you hire new people to do this sales IT recruitment stuff, and I think I'd be great at it." And Dave Pinto, seasoned sales manager, says, yeah, sure. He said, "Tell you what, why don't you send me your CV?" Now, bearing in mind my academic prowess and my career history to date, I'm not seeing this go very far. And just the only response I had was, well, I could, Dave, but if I were to send you my CV, then all you're going to see is that I don't know anything about sales, and I don't know anything about IT or recruitment. I said, "But I'm a really smart guy. I'm a really hard worker. Why don't you meet me for 20 minutes? We'll have a chat. And if you like me, give me a job. And if you don't, we go our separate ways." And I said that because I didn't know any better. I didn't know that you're meant to have a resume and a career history and all this stuff. So I just said what came out of my mouth. What I didn't know is that's actually how Dave Pinto become really successful at his job. Because if you do IT recruitment in the late 1990s, your customers are inundated with people trying to send you CVs all the time. And his sales approach was always to his customers, no, I'm not going to send you anybody's CVs. You tell me what you really want and need, and I will find the one person that fits that bill. And I inadvertently just kind of done that back to him. So he was like, yeah, okay, come and meet me. Met him, we got on fine, offered me a job, took it, and thus started my career in sales in London for an IT recruitment company called the Span Consultancy, who I don't think they're around in that brand anymore. They've been acquired by somebody else since then. And it worked. I was good at it. I discovered in a few short months that by working really hard and being me, and having quite a thick skin as well, I could actually do quite well at this. And there was quite a good buzz. The atmosphere in the office was great. We'd go out for beers after work. I made some really good friends. The industry is kind of bullshit, but I was having fun and I was making money as well. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, that's how I pivoted, as we say. That's how I disrupted from being a restaurant manager to being an IT sales recruitment guy.
So from pizza to a pizza to action in recruitment.
Yeah,
it's a very bad segue.
You know what, James? I was going to try and put that line together myself, but I just no, it literally never occurred to me. I guess that's why you're the host and I'm just the guest. But yeah, it was a canny time in the industry. We had this kind of year 2000 bug being talked about, and everyone was just getting kind of computerized, and I think we had one PC in the office that had the email, and everybody else had a kind of dumb terminal. And we used fax machines for sending CVs and all that kind of stuff. But the industry was changing really quickly, and there was a lot going on. And it was all about people, really, because the customer that you're trying to get the attention of has either got a problem to solve or they haven't. And if they've got a problem to solve and I can solve it for money, then we'll do business. And then the product that we're selling actually was also a person. So we had to then find IT freelancers and contractors that could do this job and would do this job and wanted to do this job and we think would fit in really well. And this is mostly done by telephone. It's done in quite a haphazard way at the time. But trying to put this deal together, making sure that everybody felt that they were getting a good deal and everybody could see that there was a match. And if there wasn't a match, just agreeing it really quickly, because the worst thing you can do is trying to force a bad match, because nobody wins out of that. So we did that, and then, got involved in .com companies and startups and things like First Tuesday and all this really cool stuff that was happening around the turn of the century, which again makes me feel really old saying things like that. But yeah, so I did that, and then I decided to move back up north. I moved back to my hometown of Preston, which I'm very proud to call home, and live there to this day. I'm pleased to say. Had a couple of kids, became a proper grown up.
So what were you doing in Preston?
So I decided to move back up north because I met a girl. I thought it was the right thing to do, and we kind of fell in love and did all that stuff. So I moved back up north. Yeah, I mean, not every story's got a fairy tale ending. It didn't work out, but I'll not bore you with that shenanigans because there's a much more romantic story to tell here, which I'll come back to. But I was able to kind of move back up north and found another job in part of the same group doing similar, and then did that for a couple of years, and had the other massive kind of pivotal moment in my life was the birth of my sons, my teen angels, who are, in fact, she's 20 and 19 now, so not even teenagers anymore. But there you go. So big change in my outlook on the universe by becoming a father. And then also a company I was working for a couple of years made me redundant. I think really my face didn't fit, and they just wanted, give me some money to go away, to be honest. But at the time they were going through some changes in it, and so that was that. I took a job somewhere else, and 3 months later they went bust. So on my birthday, we got the phone call to say, yeah, you're not getting paid this month, and we haven't got a job anymore. And so bounced around in various different kind of IT, sales, HR type businesses and companies for a few years. And then stumbled across a job selling IT, selling software, but selling software in healthcare, which I hadn't thought of as being a particular sector of interest, healthcare. What do I know about healthcare? And actually, this was selling software to do with prescribing, which I definitely don't know anything about, and selling it to NHS organisations that I don't understand. But when I looked at what this business did, for all its clever complexity and algorithms, actually it was really, really simple. And it did something that helped doctors to make their best decisions really easily and save a load of money for the NHS and help patients get the right meds and hopefully get slightly better outcomes from their healthcare. And I'm like, what? And we're selling that? It's wow. Yeah, I can see why that'd be fun. I didn't know how complicated it was dealing with the healthcare system, but then again, selling anything to anybody is complicated until you understand it. What I found in taking that job though was I wasn't just selling stuff to earn money or for the fun of it. When I won a customer and helped them to solve their problems, it really mattered. And looking at my young babes now, my kids, and looking at my taxpayers' money, I thought, okay, this is a bit more worthwhile than what I've been doing before. And I think that was where I kind of worked out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Do you want to tell the story you told me, Ben, about visiting a client on the South Coast after you'd read a certain book?
Yeah. So I took this job, worked in this it was a small startup software business at the time, but it was acquired by a US parent company, a large corporate organization. And for the next 12, 13 years, I learned all different aspects of kind of healthcare and the NHS, and also supporting corporate employee health and developing go-to-market strategies and all of that. And one of the product areas that we were looking to take a new set of products to market was inspired by something that had done really well in the US and been really instrumental in transforming the way that healthcare organizations work together there. And one of our US leadership team could see a fit for the UK market and say, right, Ben, take this to the market, go find us some customers for this. And we figured out that the kind of user and the beneficiary of these particular set of tools would be general practice organizations. Most GPs surgeries in the UK today are reasonably small businesses. They've got maybe 20, 30, 40 staff. They serve maybe 10,000 patient populations, but there's a small but growing number that are becoming these larger organizations where multiple practices have formed together. And so this was our kind of target audience, because we can do stuff to help them be much more efficient and work better and really address population health rather than just kind of turning the wheels and getting through the day, as a lot of GPs are struggling to do because of the workload and the challenges of workflow and all the pressures in general practice that are well documented. So one of my colleagues had a relationship with the ops director at a large medical practice on the South Coast called Beacon Medical, who were quite cool. They were doing some pretty innovative stuff anyway. And so arranged a meeting with Claire Oatway, who was the ops director, and she invited a couple of her leadership team, a couple of GP partners in, and we all sat around in a room to really thrash out, what's this big idea that you've got, and how is it going to transform our lives, and how could it all work? And the night before, I just finished reading a book called Be More Pirate, which some of your listeners might have come across, by a guy called Sam Conniff Allende. And it was just all about breaking rules and all about rewriting them when they didn't fit. And I thought, wow, this really speaks to me. And frankly, I was going into this, what was basically a sales meeting, trying to form a partnership with this organization with a product that we hadn't yet built and didn't quite understand the need for, and a customer that we didn't really understand either, and no way of knowing who was going to pay for this. And it was in Plymouth, and there was a plaque on the wall talking about Walter Raleigh, and I just went, So to start the meeting, guys, let's talk about being a bit more pirates. And my colleagues sort of looked at each other and went, what is he on about? And the clients in the room, the senior GP partners and the ops director and their smartest brains looked at him and went, what is he on about? I went, no. I said, come on, just go with me on this one. I started to tell the story about how we see pirates can rewrite the rules and thinking differently and challenging things that no longer work and all that good stuff. And after about 15 minutes of me just banging on about this stuff, actually we've started to know and go, do you know what? This is actually really quite interesting. So rather than you being a corporate company, Ben, to sell us this software that you haven't built and we don't know what it's going to do for us, let's be a little bit more pirate and see if we can find a way to collaborate. And let's just work through what would it be like for us to try and find a way to bring your strengths and our strengths together and do something new and different. And it was one of the most fun sales meetings ever in my life. And the follow-up was, let's have a call with the ops director and work out, okay, based on all that mad. And we demoed some software and some tools as well, but that was just normal. This was the fun bit. And our next meeting was to spend an hour and a half not talking about prices or products or stakeholders. We spent an hour and a half talking about culture and talking about our values and talking about what mattered in how we would seek to partner together on this. Nothing to do with the products, the contracts, any of that. It was all about, if we were to work together, what would that look like and what would it feel like? And what's really important to your partners? What's really important to your staff, your employees, and actually what's really important to you in the way that this is going to help your patients that you're serving every day. And we came up with a little charter, a little set of 5 or 6, I think it was 5 different things that we both agreed, this is what we value together, and this is how we will show that value in the way that our teams work. And Claire and I both took that back to our respective teams and said, guys, we're going to try and do some work with Beacon. Don't know what it looks like. Don't know how much money is in it, if any. We don't know exactly which product they're going to need or not need, but this is how we're going to work together. And, again, going back to a corporate team, they're looking at you going, yeah, but who's going to sign the contract? And yeah, but which modules do they want? Don't know any of that. What we've agreed is a set of principles as to how we would go about doing business, if indeed we are to. And I just found that completely revolutionary in my approach to working with customers. So not only am I doing good work that's going to be useful and valuable, but I found myself wanting to do it in this different way. And not every customer's going to get it. And not everybody wants to agree some values and some principles.
Pirate code.
Yeah, it's a pirate code. But more and more what I'm finding is if somebody doesn't want to engage to some extent on the how will we work together and what's important to us in this relationship, then actually the relationship ain't that important to them. And you know what? Actually, it's not going to be a good piece of business. So maybe that's the sign to take your time and effort and find another customer that does want to have the right kind of relationship with you.
Yeah, definitely, because it's the sort of project you need the rapport, the different relationships, all the links with the different stakeholders. It's not just something where if someone expects you to just come in and solve all their problems without that real foundation, I think that makes it much more difficult to make such a project a success. Definitely.
Definitely, James. And there's also a massive cultural difference between a very large US corporate health tech firm who are used to doing things a certain way because they've done it really well at a massive scale across the whole of the US, and so obviously do therefore know best. And a UK NHS GP organisation who are working within the NHS, but GPs are not employed by the NHS. This is the partnership is its own entity, and they're contracted to the NHS to provide their services, and all of the complexities that are involved in that world, and everything that this group had been through to get to be one of the, if not the most kind of advanced, cutting edge, leading example of how to do primary care at scale. They were one of the pioneers of that in this country with a handful of others. So to turn up and go, right, good news, we've solved all your problems with our tools and clever software because we know best, and here it is, and here's how much you're going to pay for it, is never, ever, ever going to work. What the customer and Claire Oatway taught me in particular, and this is a lesson that I'll never forget, when you've got a great idea and you're going to tell somebody how you're going to make their lives better, is take time to first check, how do they get to where they are today? Because we could see the gaps, the opportunities, how things could be done better because we'd worked all that stuff out. but we hadn't felt the journey that they'd gone on to get to as good as they are today from where they were before. And in terms of how we work together, lesson number one is do not come in and tell us that what we're doing is wrong and bad and crap. Because even if you're right, it's not gonna help, right? People are not gonna hear and want to work with and embrace a bunch of change that's undoing their good work or treading on their toes or disrespecting the struggles and the battles that they've already fought to get as far as they have. And that, again, for me was really kind of instructive, because in my earlier life and in my earlier career, I could always obviously see the right way things should be done. I could see the answer. It was blindingly obvious. It was so simple. Why couldn't I just explain this and get on with it? And I often didn't really have much awareness or sympathy for how other people might think or feel about it. It just didn't really occur to me. There's a problem here, and here's the solution. So let's get on with it, right? This is obviously the best way of doing it. And my lesson there is that sometimes being right isn't the most important thing, and there's more than one way of solving a problem. And actually, sometimes getting a solution that's not the optimal technical fix, but that works for the people involved, is far, far, far better than trying to nail down, the perfect blueprint. Because it's the people that are working with those tools and processes and systems. It's the people that are supporting those patients that need this to work for them. And whether or not my software or my data likes it, right? Whether or not my company thinks that's a good idea, these are the guys that have got to live with it. So the solution's got to fit the people that are going to be using it day by day.
Absolutely. And we did have a bit of a chuckle in there, because one of James' life lessons, he was told.
Oh, I'd had a kind of Jerry Maguire moment, if you've seen that movie, with how I thought something should change in an organisation. And one of the top senior people in the company, excuse me, who I'd sent this to, his message was, you don't always win by being right. And the other message was, don't send me a 14-page report. Give me a one-pager. What do you need? We need more money. We need someone fired. But it was, similar sort of lesson. And another point I was picking up on is, if you think back to the maths lessons where something was very obvious, so I work with, I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach, and what jumps out is that clearly you've got very strong skills in solution finding, problem solving, getting started, getting things moving, but you've actually grown in your awareness of, I know that if I was to use my strength there, that's not the right place to use it, because I need to go through the process of helping people understand where they are, what needs to change, getting their buy-in, and then setting out a plan which helps to get there. So it's quite funny to see how, if you are using them to best effect, or if your math teacher was able to say, well, Ben, you're really good at simplifying things. Why don't you come up to the board?
Yeah, he didn't invite me as such. I just stood up and did it. And it's taken me a long time to learn that stuff, because I've often found myself kind of battling against the universe, right? There's a bunch of rules I don't understand, so I'm gonna just bang my head against them. I'm not earning enough money, so I'm going to work harder, all that kind of stuff. And I always felt I could see the obviously I could see the right way of doing this. To learn that there's more than one right way was quite an important step in my development. And the people side of it, the human side, I think the other big kind of lesson that I learned was realizing that ripple effect that I have on people around me. And I'm, as you can tell, really modest and quite humble. But I wasn't always. And so that ripple effect that I have on people around me can be good and it can be bad. When I walk in a room, if I'm in a bad mood, somebody has had to take me to one side and said, look, Ben, when you walk in the room and you're in a bad mood, you know what? Everybody's in a bad mood. So can you just bite your tongue and stop it? I'm like, I didn't know I had that much power. I was in a bad mood. Why am I not allowed to be in a bad mood? Everybody else can be in a bad mood. It's not fair. But I've got over it. And also, if I go into that difficult meeting or that really tense conversation, I need to be really mindful. What's the tone and mood that we want to get either set or move towards here? Because because everybody's been in that meeting where somebody comes in and just brings the whole room down. Right?
Mood-tovers.
And I think people have been in the meeting where somebody bounces in the room and lifts everybody. But there's a third time where there's a third one where people are being thoughtful, reflective, and someone's just being bloody noisy, right? I've learned to try not to be that guy, because actually that's not about lifting energy at all. That's about mismatching. So learning about that ripple effect and taking the time to invite people to talk about what's important to them and what matters to them and how they think we could solve the problem, and getting every voice heard, because the quiet person in the corner isn't quiet because they don't know the answer. Maybe they're quiet. Maybe they like to pause and think a little bit, and giving that person space to have their thoughts shared and heard can often come up with something that nobody else saw, because we're all too busy jumping on the solution. That's kind of how I've started to really enjoy working over the last few years, is taking that slightly more, I'd like to say slightly more cultured approach.
Cool.
But you haven't worked with me, so you can't vouch for that. Those that have will, they'll speak for themselves.
So what are you doing now?
Now I am full-time pirate, and I've set my own business up. So the last couple of years ago, I realized I was becoming increasingly unhappy and not enjoying my work and not enjoying my job. And I found that I was working for a large corporate, and look, it's a great company, and I learned loads of stuff, did some really cool things, worked with some incredible people and made some wonderful friends. And I looked around me, and there was so many great people who were wearing shackles and hating their work and being unable to just express themselves because of, either because of the diktat set from above, or because of what wasn't the done thing in the organisation, or the internal politics, all the corporate bullshit. Am I allowed to say bullshit?
Yeah, you can say what you want.
All the corporate bullshit that goes with that. And I kind of discovered that I'd be working on a project, and I quite quickly go, right, this isn't going to work. We should do this, because I can see the solution really clearly. And I talked to the team about it, and somebody would say, yeah, but actually we still have to do it that way because. And I say, what do you mean because? I don't understand. Well, because somebody far higher up in the organisation just believes that that's what we've got to be doing. And until they have a change of heart and a change of mind, then that's what we've kind of got to do. And I found that a bit dispiriting. I found that I was spending probably most of my working day doing stuff that was pleasing, or probably wasn't even pleasing, was aimed to satisfy or please internal stakeholders, whether it did or not. And by the time we finally got the opportunity to go and ask the customer what mattered to them, there was nothing left. We were all exhausted, and we were all beaten up, and it stopped being fun. It really stopped being fun. So I stopped doing that, and having grown up and realised what I wanted to do, which is absolutely sales and business development and working with health innovations, I set up my own company called Hulme Redwood. It's named after me. That's how big my ego is. And I do sales and business development for health innovators. So it's really easy to remember as well. And that's, so what I'm trying to build this business on some of those kind of pirate principles where I've got to earn some money because we've got a mortgage to pay and we've got kids to feed. I say kids. You know what? They're not even kids anymore. I'm not even sure why I'm feeding them, but they keep hearing me say that and it upsets them. So we love all the children. So, okay, me and my partner Claire have got 14 angels now. So there's a whole host of us to support there. But I think there's other ways to measure the success of my business and myself in my work, and that's, can I have some measure based on the value that I help other people to create? So if I can collaborate with other solo entrepreneurs, ideas, startups, scale-ups, businesses that try to do something cool and different, if I can help them to create some value, maybe that's a piece of success. If I can help some people move forwards when they're stuck, or develop their skills, or to learn some of the things from my painful life lessons about balancing motorbikes on roads and planes. If I can help other people to develop and grow, then maybe that's a good measure of success. And if I can, support other people with building their dreams and building their ideas and extending their impact, again, that's a measure of success, as well as making sure we earn enough money to pay the bills and feed the kids, even though they're not kids anymore and they should be feeding themselves by now. You can edit that bit out in case they were listening back.
Not even in. Listen to Daddy.
Yeah, so here's the romantic story.
Yes.
When I was at school, upsetting teachers and doing all of that, and still trying to work it out how to fit in, I did meet my first love, my girlfriend Claire, when I was in whatever it's called, the last couple of years at high school anyway. I can't remember what to call it then. And we went out for a couple of years and it was very exciting. We were very much in love and it was all young love and wonderful. And then, like I did, I wandered off and did something else and we split up and went our separate ways. And about 25 years later, having done all that I've done and got married and had kids and got divorced and all those things, I bumped into her again and went, oh, should we go for a coffee? So no, we'll have a bottle of wine. And here we are in our home together now, living our lives together again with a kind of 25, 26 year pause in the middle of the relationship. And I think that's another thing that's kind of helped remind me that sometimes, the important stuff isn't just about becoming super rich or super powerful or whatever. It's having those really deep, important connections with people that you really care about and that matter to you. So if I can in somehow, despite trying to be my own business and do all the work I'm doing with all the customers I'm supporting and running around trying to be a pirate, if I can also make sure that I'm making time and space to take care of the people that I love, then maybe that's a measure of success.
Yes, I got really excited there because I was like, oh, he hasn't told us about this romance. He's like, he put a little trailer in halfway through a conversation. And I literally wrote it down. I was like, we have to talk about this big romance. So I'm really glad you brought it up because that would have been my next question.
Well, I hope I've told the story well enough because I'm just conscious now that Claire's going to listen to this one day and go, is that all you said about me? all kinds of arguments and grief. But she absolutely is the love of my life and the most wonderful, kind, sweet, generous, selfless, caring person you could ever hope to meet. So yes, turned out nice.
Excellent. I'm sure she'd be delighted that you mentioned her. So we're going to move on to our quick fire round, and I'm going to let James take it away.
So question number 1, what would your pirate captain name be?
Captain Ben? It's crap that, isn't it?
Sounds like something out of Pugwash.
Yeah. So my youngest son's called Jake. He's 19. He's not young. Actually, my memory is that when he was born, he came out with his head a bit squared up and his shoulder tipped one side and one eye all scrunched up. And I think he looks like a little pirate. We should call him Jake. So maybe that would have been it, but it's his name now. Yeah, so that's Captain Ben it is because I can't steal my son's name.
Captain Ben keeps it nice and easy for spelling for those that can't write well in the pirate world. Okay. But you might get called Captain Dan or
Captain whatever. Spell it how you want. Is it Ben? Is it Dan? It's not that hard, guys. Yet people still get it wrong.
Oh dear.
Captain Northern Monkey. There you go.
As long as you like gravy, it's okay. So, question number 2: what superpower would you like to have?
Oh, can I have hindsight?
I think you've already got that one.
Yeah. Okay. Can I have retrospective force? No. That thing where you can just learn your lessons in life at the beginning and then go through life having already learned them. Is that one? Can we get that?
Yeah.
If I can't have that, then I think I would ask for more compassion.
Lovely.
Because I've got a superpower. My superpower is asking questions and seeing things in a different way. I do that all day long. I do that every day. It's brilliant. I love it. Sometimes I really irritate people when I'm doing it and don't always notice that until it's too late. So a little bit more of the soft side and compassion might just help make me even more super.
Cool. Question number 3.
Question number 3. What is your favourite pizza topping?
There's nothing controversial about this at all. Just don't do the whole fruit thing because that's been done before. I do love homemade hand stretched dough, cooked in a stone oven out in the back garden. Got one of them, dead obsessed with that. Just a really classic margarita with maybe a few olives and some anchovies on it. It's absolutely fantastic.
Cool. I think I might have forgotten about the Pizza Hut story you told me. We came up with these questions. So when you mentioned Pizza Hut, we did like a little we gave each other a little giggle. Cool.
I got to a stage in my life where I stopped eating pizza because I was sick of it. Because you work in pizza, 6 days a week, right? You're going to eat pizza probably once, twice a day. That's kind of all you're going to eat. And as much as pizza is lovely, you can have too much. But I've rekindled my love for pizza. I absolutely love making my own pizzas at home and doing all that stuff. Can never get enough of that. But simple is good. Simple is best.
Cool. And I've got a feeling, I already know the answer to this one. But if we could pull up outside in the DeLorean and take you back to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give to you?
I would tell myself, well, okay, what advice would I listen to? None. I wouldn't listen to anybody's advice. But if I could impart some wisdom on my 18-year-old self and actually take it on board without being such an arrogant little git that I thought I knew everything, I would want me to know that actually sometimes it's more important to be nice than to be right. And I would encourage myself. I'm very impulsive in my decision making, which is fine because I tend to be quite intuitive and impulsive anyway, and I'm good with that. But I've maybe encouraged myself to stop and pause and think a bit harder about where I want to be. Because when I choose to put my energy into something, I go at it 110% and I will absolutely get there. But when I didn't have a direction, I put all my energy into going nowhere, right? I wandered around in circles, bumping into things. So I would try and encourage myself to think a bit more about that. Though, as I say, I'm not sure how much advice I would have taken at the age of 18.
Yes, I hear you.
So for our listeners, if you would like to follow, get in touch with Ben, we'll put this in the show notes as well, but the best place is on LinkedIn. Go to linkedin.com/Ben P for Paul Hulme.
Or pirate.
Or P for pirate. Ben P Hulme, Hulme.
Yeah, that's what it stands for. It's not even my name. It's Ben P for pirate Hulme. Absolutely. Yeah. And the other place, if you've got an iPhone, because obviously it doesn't work on Android, if you've got an iPhone, you can find us on Clubhouse as well. We do set up a new club. It's called Sales Piracy, and every Thursday 5 p.m. Sales Piracy, good trouble. Come and join that conversation. It's always fun, and we're going to hang out on there until somebody either makes it work for Android or comes up with a better alternative.
Yep.
But yeah, connect with me via LinkedIn. I love meeting new people. I love hearing about people's ideas or challenges, and sharing stories and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you ever so much for coming to speak to us today. Was it as painful as you expected?
Far worse. It was just I was sat in a pool of sweat here and quivering. You've both been wonderful to talk to. I've really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast. I hope your listeners find it as joyful an experience as I did, at least, even more so. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.